afternoon. My name is Pastor Charlie Koo, your host for our Cuckoo's Nest podcast for the month of July. And for July, we have as our guest Pastor Phillip Han of Calvary Korean Church in San Diego. For how long have you been serving there now?
Well, I've been serving there for 4 years now. 4 years.
Wow, long time. And prior member of our English ministry while I was in my brief post at Dongsin Church in Fullerton, and also a member of Orange County Yongnak Church while Pastor James Kim was in charge of that.
That was my first church.
So please welcome him.
Thank you.
I really do. I praise God for you. Again, like I was telling you off camera, God had me, he placed memories of our time together when we were at the Dongsin Church. We had like a bunch of things, like because of Adam, we had like a physical fitness.
Yeah, workout. That's what I was thinking of, like working out with Adam.
Yeah, we had that. We had the Wednesday night discipleship meetings with our book disciple, Juan Carlos Ortiz.
Yeah, I think I remember that too.
And then we had a time when you and I were able to ride on the riverbed together. And you,
Pastor Charlie, I have to say, you are amazing because as fit as I was, and although I used to work out regularly with Adam, that was one of the hardest thing I ever done.
how far did we go? Did we even go that far?
Okay, maybe to your mind it wasn't that far, but it was pretty far from me. We went around. I think there's a trail in Fullerton.
Okay.
Yeah, but
okay. So we didn't go all the way down to the beach, but we went to.
No.
Wow. Do you want to know something crazy?
What?
Brian Shin went all the way down to the beach with me, but we started in the middle of the course. We actually took the bike to the middle and then we parked it there. But yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
It was fun.
And I still have the footage of you riding my recumbent bike, just smiling. It's just pure joy.
You know, Pastor Charlie?
Yes.
When I came to this church, there's actually a bike group here.
Oh, wow.
Here in this church, there's a group of men here from our Korean side that loves biking. And so some of them would bike from here to Orange County, or it's crazy. It's
I had done a typical a ride like that actually on the recumbent bike. I've ridden from Bellflower all the way to Solana Beach, which was 90 miles. And then I rode the train back the next day.
Wow.
Yeah, it was fun. So going back to what I was telling you earlier, the memories of Phillip Han while I was pastor at the Dongsin Church is that they've always been positive. I know that you really love the Lord, and during a time you were going through some difficulties too. I remember visiting you at this acai bowl place where you were working. You had a stint at this acai bowl place owned by some Latter-day Saints.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it was. I remember visiting you and you were just so excited to see me. And I also remember when you were working at, I think, Creamistry in Irvine.
I worked Creamistry in Irvine. Yeah, the very first Creamistry in Irvine.
Yeah, that was a treat too. We had our team, our group of people go out there, and I tasted my first bubblegum flavored Creamistry ice cream from that spot, you know. And so I'll just lay it out. I just want to congratulate you upon your graduation, your recent graduation from Westminster Theological Seminary with the MDiv.
Thank you.
And I wanted to ask you, how was that? How long did it take you, first of all?
Well, there's usually a 3-year track, but I wanted to take my time, so I asked to transfer to a 4-year track. So I finished this in 4 years. Yep.
Wow. And that's because also you were part-time serving at the church. And were you living out there by the next to the seminary or next to the?
So this is actually very interesting because when I first came into our school, they were building apartment complex in the school ground. And so they were building and they're about to be finished. And so my first year, what they do is I'm part of their email list. And so people around the neighborhood would send a, hey, we have a free room, or not free room, but we have a room that someone could rent out. So my first year, I rented out a room in this family's home.
Okay.
And so
Nice.
that was my first year, but they completed the apartment by the end of my first year. And so I was able to move in, like fresh new apartments. It was like one of the best places I ever lived in.
Wow.
And so I was very thankful at a very, very affordable rate. Yeah, I
Wow.
was very thankful,
Wow.
very, very thankful, because finance was one of the like areas where I was struggling with. And
Yeah.
so I was very thankful that they just completed this, and I moved in right when they opened up.
Yeah. When did you get the feeling that God was calling you into ministry?
Well, for me, I have to say that for me, it was it's actually a long story, but I'll
Abbreviate
give you
it.
the brief version.
Yeah.
Because a year after that, I did have I actually was out of the home for a little bit.
Okay.
Um, my family actually started a notabang in La Habra.
We went there and we prayed. I remember we all went there and
Oh yeah,
prayed. Do you remember that?
yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But
That
I remember
was
because Jeannie was there and then there's some other people there. And we sang some praise songs in the Norebang.
yeah,
And we
yeah. I
prayed.
remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
we started that, but of course it wasn't easy doing family business, doing a business together
Sure.
with the
Sure.
family. And so I actually stepped out of the family business and actually stepped out of the home too. Um,
Oh, okay.
so I left home because of my relationship with my dad, who I have to say I appreciate and love so much. And
Yeah.
at that time it was a little hard. It was hard, but I was out, and it wasn't until actually after about a year I actually started serving. I started serving at Tongshin Church as the youth teacher, as a youth teacher.
Right.
So serving there as a youth teacher, as I was with the kids, my heart starts growing for the kids, and I was just wondering, like, oh man, I wish I could spend more time with them. But during work time, I was like, oh, I was just thinking about them. It's like, oh man, I really just want to be with them and love on them and read scripture together. And that desire just grew over time as I was serving as a youth teacher. And
Wait,
then it
hold on a second.
wasn't,
Hold on. Time out. Were
yeah,
you
yeah, yeah.
serving under Tanya?
No, I wasn't. I was
After
serving
Tanya?
under Pastor Sean. I don't know if you ever met
I met
Pastor Sean.
Sean. Sean brought
Okay.
some of his group to Arizona,
Yes, yes,
and I
yes,
took him
yes.
to the museum. Yeah, sure.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah,
know
yeah,
Sean.
yeah. Yeah,
Sure, sure.
I went with on a mission trip with him too. It was actually my final last summer mission trip before I moved down to
Right.
Calvary in San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah, I actually served right when he started. Right when he started, I also started with him, and it was a joy serving. I keep in touch with him
Okay.
a lot, a lot. And
Good.
so I'm very thankful for him too. And um, it was through that year where I think it started growing, and I started asking questions. Oh, do I want to do this or not? And
Hmm.
I think meeting people, I think is also by God's sovereign plan. I got to meet certain people. I think I was briefly sharing with you. I met a friend out of nowhere at 24 Fitness, and he was leaving for Korea the next week. So he's like, "Hey, we gotta set a time and day this week. Let's meet up." And when I grabbed dinner with him, he was sharing me his experience because he was also a youth pastor at the time,
I see.
and he was sharing me his hardships and challenges. And for some reason, my heart was still growing even more
Yeah.
for ministry. And so I started talking to Pastor Daniel, and I actually reached out to other leaders. And you know what? Actually, that very year, I got that desire. Pastor Daniel did a winter retreat. It was in February, around my birthday, where he brought in Paul Son, right? Paul Son
Oh.
about leadership and calling and identity, and it was actually perfect
Wait, wait. Is this the
because
Paul
I
son
got
that I was referring to earlier? or a different Paul
Yes,
Stone?
yes, yes.
Oh, okay, okay,
No,
okay.
Paul Stone, I think he's at Biola right now.
Oh, wow.
Biola. He wrote the book Quarter Life Calling. Quarter
Right,
Life
right, right, right,
Calling.
right. Sure, sure. Okay.
Yeah. So he was our guest seminar speaker, and man,
Wow.
this was actually what I was questioning at the time. It's like, oh, and I brought it up to him through talking to him too, and through the
Mm,
seminars he gave. It really helped me and cleared things up a lot. And by the end of, I think, that retreat, I was like, I believe that God was calling me towards ministry.
wow.
And
Because
yeah,
yeah, because as I was jogging my memory with you earlier, I do remember that you had gone to Calvary Praise School,
yeah,
and then you were like very shyly and timidly but respectfully asking me like, can I lead Sunday worship service at the Tongshin Church, and you started to do that. I remember. Have you grown?
yeah,
Do you feel
yeah.
like you have grown in that area in praise ministry?
Yeah, I love praise, and it's something that I've been like ever since I first ever went to church.
Yeah.
Like people plucked me into the praise team, and that's an area I always had a heart for. And I'm still serving in that area, helping out with like the adult praise team in this church and helping out raise out the next generation. I do have to say, me personally, I think as I was transferring more towards like pastoral ministry, it's not that my heart grew like smaller for the worship praise area, but all my time was left with reading books and writing papers
Right, right.
that I didn't
Seminary.
really get seminary seminary that I didn't get much chance to really like grow in that area.
Okay.
Um, and so I'm a little sad, but
Look,
like yes,
I
yes.
heard you preach, and I gotta tell you, God has made you grow. Yeah.
Ah,
So I was very pleased to hear you preaching, and there was a lot of confidence in your voice. There was definitely the love of God, and I'm sure I'm not only speaking for myself. Like Pastor James Kim, who was
mm,
initially your mentor, also probably
yeah,
would be very, very proud to just see that you're doing ministry now, and you're continuing to be fervently in love with the Lord and leading the next generation.
thank
During
you.
your time at the Westminster Seminary, yeah, what were some of the highlights that you could think of?
Well, you know, here's the thing. I came into Westminster thinking I knew the Bible,
Wow.
thinking I knew Reformed theology,
Okay.
and I was blown away because I realized after the first class, like I knew nothing.
Uh,
And I love my time in Westminster. If I were to go, like because I was struggling to where to go too, and honestly, because I was at Tongshin, and actually at the time they were looking for like a junior high pastor, and they were asking me to like kind of stay. Why don't you go to Talbot, and serve our church too? It wasn't an easy choice, and I think to be honest, finance also had to do
sure.
kind of is a factor in my decision too. And I was very grateful because I wasn't gonna get any support from anywhere else. So Westminster actually gave me a, a big scholarship, a grant,
Wow.
and I'm very very thankful for that.
Wow.
That it was a big
Praise the
factor
Lord.
in
Yeah.
choosing Westminster, and
Yeah.
I love every moment of it. I loved all the teachers. I love the people I met. And by the way, Pastor Charlie, Westminster is very small. I think it's only like 150, 200 students.
Okay.
It's very is or maybe I'm saying more. Maybe including faculty is like 200.
In
Um,
Escondido, California.
it's Escondido, California.
Mhm.
It's not a big group at all. And so you get to know every single one of them. Like you know everyone's face. We always have some. Now I have to say the second half of my seminary years were during the pandemic.
No, okay.
Um, but the first 2 years we were active. We had a ping pong table that everyone plays, and no wonder pastors are so good at ping pong. That's all they do is study and play ping pong to release stress.
Uh,
But it was fun. I loved. We had like we had chapel, but we also had prayer groups. Like I was in a group under a certain professor, and every week we'll meet just to pray, talk and share and do life together. And also them building these apartments. It was like, okay, I don't want to say it was a perfect community, but it was an amazing
Yeah.
community that I was surrounded by.
Yeah.
And so I was very thankful for all the things that I learned, and
Yeah.
every single class. Like, it was all new for me. And I was grateful for their heart and compassion, their passion for languages. I think it's hard. And I'm actually I'm still reviewing my paradigms
Wow. In the Greek.
in Greek and Hebrew.
Wow.
And so it's something that they instilled in me, how important understanding and reading, especially as the pastor, to the original languages. And I think that's something they really emphasize a lot.
Wow.
We reviewed our Hebrew and Greek in every Bible class, even after the language classes were over. And
Wow.
so
That's good.
I was very grateful for that. And one more thing I just want to say, I
Sure.
think I
Sure.
came at a very interesting time where I came in where all the professor that was here for like many years, maybe almost from the very beginning, they were all retiring. I came at the like
Oh,
tipping point. So I came where I got to take
meet
their
with them.
classes, yeah, meet with
Oh,
them,
wow.
take their final classes, and
Oh,
I got to
wow.
experience a little bit of some of the new professors. So I got
Yeah.
to experience and meet all
Yeah.
the old professors that were there for years, many, many years, before they retire. So I
Yeah.
was very grateful that I got to experience that. Yeah.
It sounds to me like from the very beginning of the journey, even though you were kind of tentative about it, that there was a huge blessing, like time after time. I mean, okay, so some of the names, are there some well-known scholars from Westminster that would be noteworthy to mention?
Yeah,
Some that you
yeah.
enjoyed particularly?
Yeah, I really enjoyed well, for Greek, for New Testament courses too. His name is Dr. Ba.
Okay.
He actually, if you go into your ESV study Bible,
Oh, okay.
he is a commentary for Ephesians.
Okay.
Ephesians.
Okay.
So I really enjoyed him. There's this guy. He actually, I had his last year. His name is Dr. Johnson, Dennis Johnson too, and I really appreciate. He was more. He said he started out in the New Testament and he transferred to the practical theology side, and I got to take some of his final last courses before he retired. He was actually the speaker for my graduation,
Hmm.
and so I was grateful to hear from him once more. My prayer leader, um, he actually stepped down and he actually became the president of Gospel Coalition, and so Julius Kim. So he's someone that I got to know personally because we were in the same prayer group. He was my prayer advisor, so I was grateful to meet him, and I'm very thankful. It was very interesting because when I came in, um, I did not expect there to be any Korean professors, but not only that, Joel Kim became the president of our seminary the year I came into the seminary, and
Okay.
so I I I I had a great time learning from these professors. Yeah,
Wow.
so those are some people. Yeah,
Cool. Um, it's when we talk about seminaries, the two large representative seminaries is like Talbot, like you mentioned earlier, and then Fuller, where I came out of. I think maybe APU, but Westminster, like you mentioned, it is a pretty small school, but well known to
yeah,
being very conservative, and
yeah.
I'm glad to know that they really strengthen you on the languages. Are you able to read some of the passages from the original Greek, and are you able to read in
Yeah,
Greek?
I'll be able to read. I will have to say I need to brush up on my vocab again. And
Okay.
the reason why I brought this out is because, man, if you don't get with the languages,
Sure.
you start forgetting
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's something actually my professor said, just start reading and start parsing. I actually have because of the pandemic, I got logos, and I know it's amazing how you can just look through the words and parse everything for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I do want to get to the point where even without this program, I could just read and parse and know the vocabs, and I'm still working on it. I'm still working on it.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, you're serving at Calvary, Calvary Korean Church in San Diego for the last 4 years. So
Yep.
what you mentioned right now is that you were in charge of the youth group, and in the interim, you're also rebuilding the English ministry, and you're going to be expected to do that full time. Am I right? You're going to be a full
Yeah.
time staff.
So I started while I was in school. I was a part-timer, full-time student.
Yeah.
As I graduated, actually just this month, I started on this month. I'm talking June.
Yeah.
In June 1st, I started here. So right after I graduated, May 29th, I moved down closer to church during that weekend,
Okay.
and then June 1st, I started full time here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Oh,
That's good.
thank
So
you so
everything is
much.
kind of fitting into place. Okay,
Yeah.
that was the case for me. Like I was struggling big time before coming to Christ, and
Yeah.
then I accepted the call 2006, and then like how things would fall into place. It's amazing. I'm a product of a lot of His blessings as well.
God's been
Yeah,
providing, and in many ways, I'm very grateful for His hand in my life.
yeah,
Like, I'm serious. Like, it's really by the grace of God that I'm here where I'm at today.
yeah.
And
Praise.
his hand on my life, his provision. Oh, I'm so grateful. I'm very, very
Yes.
grateful.
As far as I think you reached out to me a couple times about short-term mission. What missionary outreaches have you been able to do with your youth group in the last couple of years?
Well, so our church too. We originally, when I did first come here, I think we do have, because we're in San Diego, we have Mexico mission trips
Okay.
all the
Oh,
time. But
right, right.
for me, and also this, I'm okay with sharing this, but I do have, I always had, I can't leave the state. That's all I want
Okay,
to say.
okay,
Like,
okay.
I can't
Got you,
leave the
got you.
state. So
Sure, sure.
for me, I was always into interstate mission trips and
Right,
looking
right.
around. At my school, they're very more, I don't want to say it's my school, but we had like, it's called an organization called the MTW, Mission to the World.
Yeah.
They're the mission organization of the PCA. And so I got to meet a lot of the people there. And so, you know what? I realized they do have mission trips to the Native Americans, and they had one in Washington. And so, at least before the pandemic, I took our kids to Washington,
Hmm.
and so a group of us, and it was amazing. It was awesome. Yeah.
Um, you have been having you've been with the girlfriend for how long now?
2 years now.
Oh,
Two
wow.
years.
And like this is like your first girlfriend?
Yeah, my first girlfriend.
That's awesome, man. See, okay, guys, I gotta tell you, follow the Lord's will, and He will provide. Right now,
Yes,
I'm
he
talking
will.
to a witness, a living witness that has everything that he's been wanting. God does provide these things. I want people to know. So so you're praying about probably next steps about that as well, right?
Yes, I am.
If I'm not mistaken, she is PK.
Well, not PK. Actually, she's a daughter of one of the elders here.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah.
all right, cool, wow. You've certainly been very busy for the last 5 years because what happened in my life? I got married, so I've been
Yes,
pretty
you did.
busy too.
Congrats to
Yeah, thank you.
that.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's totally unexpected, but God's been very good to me and His blessings as well.
Mm.
For younger guys, as you are going through this incredible journey of your faith and responding the call and getting educated in seminary training and becoming a pastor, a lot of people may be shy. A lot of people, a lot of young people might be, God might be knocking on their heart's door, but they may be afraid. What would be for you? What would be some words of encouragement towards these folks? What would you say to them?
I'm sorry, Pastor Charlie. Can you repeat that again?
Okay.
Reword it a little
All right. All
bit.
right. So So I'm talking to you. You're the
Yes.
living witness of God's grace and providence in His calling.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm sure that not every calling looks like this, but there are some people that God is calling on them because that's what His plans are for them, and a lot of them have trepidations and fears. Will God take care of me? Like, what would be from your angle? What will be some words of encouragement for these guys?
Yeah. Well, for these guys who, yeah, maybe unsure where they're at and maybe have a lot of fear and insecurity. I do have to say what really brought me a lot more confidence of and security and peace is my identity in him. It's understanding how loved I am by God.
Okay.
And I know it's not, we say this a lot. I think we say it too many times, like God loves you. And sometimes we mean it, like God, it is the truth.
Yeah.
But I feel like some people, it gets filtered through their fears and insecurities and
Sure.
um, or their experience. But man, if I personally first, I think we should continue to let them know that they are loved by God, that
Okay.
they're a child of God. And I think having that peace that comes from knowing that you are fully known and fully loved by God, it gives us that clarity of like, oh, wow, I know where God is leading me. I know where
Yes.
God is, or even if I don't know where God is leading me, it's just like you still have this confidence that God is with you.
You could trust Him.
Yeah, that you can
Yeah.
trust them.
Yeah.
And actually, to be honest, that's actually my journey too. I didn't know the details of my life. Like you don't have to know
Yeah.
like every little details before you make that step. And I think that's why we walk by faith and not by
Yeah.
sight.
I mean, if we knew all the details, we might not do it. That's why He only
Exactly.
lets us know what we need to know.
Exactly.
Right.
Or something that came, it was my, I think part of my story as I was sharing to my friends of how I came into ministry is that, yeah, maybe he could have just revealed it to me in a vision or dream or tell me, hey, just be a pastor and
Yeah.
sure. But you know what? After struggling, after going through the hardship, after going through those challenges, you know what those challenges and hardships made me do? It made me seek the Lord.
Yeah.
It made me go, I can't depend on my knowledge or I can't depend on what I know or what, like, yeah, on me, but instead it made me go, God, I need you today. God, where I need your help and guidance today. And I had to do that every day. As I was asking and coming before the Lord, over time, I realized as I look back, I was like, God, you've been with me through every step of my journey. And
Right.
God, I could only say, because through these challenges and seeing how faithful, even when even I remain unfaithful to you, Lord, you were faithful to me throughout my journey.
Yeah.
And it just, as I reflect on that, I was like, God, I just love you so much.
Yeah.
I love you so much. And I think it was because he took me on this journey. Like, yeah, it took me on this journey that it made me who I am today.
Yeah. Yeah.
And made me love the Lord even more. It's not because of anything I have done, but it's because of all his grace. It's all of God's grace.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, before we got on the camera, we did briefly talk about Pastor James, who happens to be one of my peer mentors,
Yeah.
and you were one of his flock while he was attending his church in the English ministry at OC Yongnak Church,
Yeah. Also young enough.
and then he just said, hey, why don't you go to my friend Pastor Charlie's church?
Yeah.
And then you came, even though it was not established, it was just being built
Yeah.
up from the ground up. And then you had some very nice things to say about your last pastor before you went out to your ministry, Pastor Daniel, a mutual friend.
Mm.
So before we begin, we're gonna wrap things up. I think
Yeah.
it's about your time to also go and. Are you gonna eat lunch after this, or you
I
have a
think I'm
meeting or
going
what?
straight. Yeah, I have a meeting at
Okay.
one.
Okay.
Yeah,
So I'm
one.
gonna, I'm gonna try to wrap this up. Why don't you say a kind blessing about Pastor Daniel before we leave, and then we'll call it a day.
Yeah.
Sound good?
Well, Pastor James and Pastor Daniel.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just the last time you were describing how instrumental Pastor Daniel was in
Yeah.
your time at Tongshin Church. Because after I left, you had to continue on at that church,
Yeah.
and then you learn some things from him. Yeah, I would like for you to take this time to, lift them up.
Yeah. I want to say like because I was always the firstborn in my family,
Yeah,
I was put always in like leadership position or just the older brother
yeah,
always.
yeah,
I always had to be, but it was something I think I was always looking for was like I always wanted a mentor. I always
yeah,
want to look someone to look up to, and
yeah,
I want to say that Pastor James was there for me during my college years, and
yeah,
I love him. I'm very thankful for him, and I love our Bible study time together. And I was very encouraged when he recommended to Tongshin Church,
yeah,
to you, and through that time, um, or after a few years, when you were transitioning somewhere else, and Pastor Daniel came in. You know what's funny? I think he already knows this, but when he came for his like first sermon, we all got together. We're all like, "No, I don't think he's for us."
really?
at first, we
Oh,
at first we were like, maybe not. But then I think of the elder there for EM that took care of our EM, said, "Hey, why don't you give him a chance?" And I think we were like, "Okay, let's give him a chance." And I met someone who I look up to. I consider like a spiritual father, that really helped me and loved me. Um, I think I was with him a good, I think 3 years, 4 years with him. And I still keep in touch with him. And I'm very thankful for all his teachings and the love that he showed to me the past years, especially even during my time in seminary.
yeah,
I'm very grateful. Yeah.
yeah. I knew Pastor Daniel's father.
You did?
Yeah, 김석주 선교사님. He's been uh, missionary to Philippines, but I didn't realize at what scale his mission projects were. And I think he did work very, very hard, tirelessly.
Yeah.
And I've heard him speak on numerous occasions because the previous senior pastor that I was serving with, they knew each other really well. So
Yeah.
I've had a chance to hearing him, and so I knew when I heard that Pastor Daniel is his son, I was like, okay, Tongshin EM is in good hands. So I was like, thank God. I am extremely proud of you, and I thank God. I praise
Thank
Him
you.
for allowing you to finish up. This is a major milestone, and I hope that your ordination process goes well. I'll continue to pray for your relationship. What's her name now?
Mary. Mary.
Mary, like the mother of Jesus.
Yes.
Okay, I'll pray for you and Mary, and also that you will experience a great revival at the Calvary Korean Church in San Diego as you consolidate your efforts into the EM and as well as the youth group. Okay?
Yes.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
very much
much.
for taking the time to be my guest on this podcast. Continued success on your journey. Now, this is a very proud moment of Phillip Hahn for the first time riding my recumbent bike on the Santa Ana bike path. How does it feel? Is it fun? Good. Fantastic. Look at that, huh? Yeah, boy. He's following closely behind. Not too shabby.